Assalamu alaikum and hello to my non-Muslim viewers. Today I'm going to be talking about why there's no death penalty for apostates in Islam. So let's begin. First of all, what is a apostate? A apostate is anybody who leaves a religion or a religious bringing. For example, if someone is a Christian and they become an atheist, they would be an apostate from Christianity. If someone is a Muslim and they become a Christian or an atheist or whatever other religion, whatever other religion they're following after they left Islam or after they became an ex-Muslim, they would be an apostate. So an apostate is anybody who leaves a religion and then follows some other religion, whether it's a Christian becoming an atheist or a Muslim becoming, a Christian or an atheist or whatever. So anybody who leaves a religion and follows another religion would be considered an apostate. So what is the punishment for apostasy in Islam? Now, a lot of critics of Islam say that if you leave Islam, then the penalty for death is apostasy, and they cite various hadith for their support of this. And they'll cite Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Abu Dawood, etc. So they'll cite hadith saying that if you leave Islam, then the penalty for leaving is the death penalty, and that's very dangerous to the apostate from Islam. Now, is this true? No, it isn't. Now, it is true that there are hadith saying that apostates are to be killed. That's true. I'm not denying that. But you have to look at the context in which that hadith arose from. Context is key to understanding hadith, just like context is key to understanding biblical Bible verses. If I take a verse out of the Bible and apply it, Christians, and apply it for my own subjective reasonings, Christians will say, well, you got to read the context. You can't just rip things out of context and throw it there to spin your own interpretation. Well, same thing with the hadith. You have to look at the context of the hadith. You can't just take a hadith and throw it out there and say, that proves my point, or that proves my argument. It doesn't work that way in Islam. Just like it doesn't work that way in Christianity, it doesn't work that way in Islam. So, I'm going to be talking about the context of that hadith right now. Now, what is the context of those hadith where the Prophet Muhammad says, if anybody changes his Islamic religion, kill him, if anybody leaves the Muslim community, kill him, etc. And those are authentic hadith. I'm not saying those are fabricated or weak hadith. I'm not trying to dismiss those hadith. I'm saying right now you have to look at the context in which that hadith arose from. The context in which those hadith arose from was at a time of war. In America and Europe and stuff like that, the penalty for treason is death. We have evidence that Europe has put to death people who committed treason or spies, and same thing with America. America also has, death penalty for treason and stuff like that in the time of war. Well, same thing with the early Islamic period. And the early Islamic period was a very small state. It didn't grow until the very last years of the Prophet's life, and when he was around 62 or 63, that's when Islam was at its full. When the Prophet was 63 or 62 years old, that's when that's when the Muslims were the majority and they were in power. They were mostly in power, but the Prophet was already dying at that point. He was, he only had like 1 or 2 years left when Muslims were the majority, or they were the ones in power. So then, so that's, so Islam didn't, become a superpower until later on, until close to the Prophet's death. Islam was a very weak state in both the Meccan and Medinian period. So you would have people who pretended to be Muslims, and then, they would gather information against the Muslims, or they would try to bring Islam. They would try to take down Islam from within Islam. So that's why they would pretend to be Muslims and stuff like that. So that's why the Prophet said that, kill them, because they were spies, or they were going to commit treason against the Muslim state. So that's the context in which those hadith came from. Nowhere does the Prophet say in the future there's going to be apostates and go kill those apostates in Sahih al-Bukhari or anything like that. He never says that. He only says kill the apostate, and you have to look at the context of that hadith. Another important thing to bear in mind is according to the Quran, nowhere does it say you can kill apostates. It doesn't. It never says that. The Quran mentions apostasy in several places, for example, in Quran chapter 24, verse 54, Quran chapter 42, verse 6, Quran chapter 2, verse 108, Quran chapter 3, verse 20, Quran chapter 5, verse 3, etc., etc. So the Quran mentions apostasy in several areas, but nowhere does the Quran say go kill apostates. It doesn't say that. In fact, the Quran promotes freedom of faith and the freedom of choice. In the Quran chapter 2, verse 256, Quran chapter 10, verse 99, Quran chapter 15, verse 2 to 3, and the Quran chapter 18, verse 29. So the Quran allows people to choose their own path. The Quran allows people to follow their own religion, whatever it is. And nowhere does the Quran say, kill apostates. Apostasy is something between God and man in the afterlife. There's no punishment or penalty for apostasy in this life, according to the Quran. So we have to read everything in its proper context. We have to look at the hadith in context in the Quran. The Quran never says anything about killing apostates. What about the Prophet's example? According to the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad is the best. He's authority to follow in religion. So let's look at the Prophet's example when there was a peaceful apostate from Islam. According to Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 9, hadith number 318, and Sunan an-Nisa, hadith number 4185, and Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 7211. According to these hadith, there was a man who came to the Prophet and wanted to apostate from Islam, and there was a Bedouin who came to the Prophet and he wanted to apostate from Islam, and the Prophet said no. The Prophet refused to let him cancel his pledge for Islam or his conversion to Islam, and the Bedouin left. He decided to leave Islam and he left, and the Prophet just let him go. He didn't have him killed. And this is an authentic hadith according to Sahih al-Bukhari 7211 and Sunan al-Nisa 4185. So the Prophet just let a peaceful apostate go when that apostate just left Islam. So according to a peaceful apostate can leave Islam and just be free. He's not going to be killed or anything. But the Prophet didn't allow him to be killed. He just didn't. The Prophet Muhammad didn't care. He just let him go. According to Sunan Abi Dawud 4358, there's the story of Abdullah ibn Sarah, who used to write revelations for the Prophet of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, and then he later on apostate, and he joined the Quraysh, or the enemies who are the enemies of Islam. And when the Prophet Muhammad came back to Mecca, he didn't have Abdullah ibn Sarah killed, according to Uthman ibn Affan. Uthman ibn Affan wanted protection for Abdullah ibn Sarah, and the Prophet Muhammad granted that protection for him. So the Prophet Muhammad didn't kill Abdullah ibn Sarah, according to Sunan Abu Dawud 4358. So the Prophet Muhammad really wanted, Abdullah ibn Sara killed for apostasy, he would have done it at that time. Even after that person left Islam, and he was fighting against the Muslims and everything, the Prophet didn't have him killed. So what that means is the Prophet could have killed Abdullah ibn Sara, but he didn't do that. So if death for apostasy was so important in Islam, then the Prophet of Islam would have done it, to that Bedouin man, which I cited earlier, and Abdullah ibn Sara, but he never did it. So what does that mean? That means that the Prophet doesn't care. If you leave Islam, then the Prophet Muhammad, he wouldn't have had, if you lived during the time of the Prophet and you left Islam, either peacefully or you joined the enemies of Islam, the Prophet would have let you go. He wouldn't have ordered you to be assassinated or killed or anything. In other words, Islam just doesn't care if you apostate from Islam. There's no death penalty for Islam. There's no death penalty for apostasy according to the Prophet Muhammad's actions. Now that's just the Prophet Muhammad. What about Muslim scholars? What did they have to say about apostasy? According to Islamic sources, the Prophet Muhammad said that the best generations of Muslims will be the 3 generations after him, and this is an authentic hadith according to Sahih Bukhari. The Prophet Muhammad also said that follow the religious scholars, according to a hadith in Abu Dawud and Ibn Majah. So scholarship and the scholars in Islam are very important to learning about Islam. Ibn Abbas also said that religious scholars should be listened to, and this is an authentic hadith found in Sahih al-Bukhari. And the Prophet Muhammad said, follow Ibn Abbas in a Sahih al-Bukhari hadith, and all these hadith are going to be down. All the references are going to be down. So anyways, according to Muslim scholarship, there were in early Muslims, even early Muslims didn't prescribe any death penalty for apostates. We have the example of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who didn't believe in the death penalty for apostasy, and Ibrahim al-Nakahi, who also didn't believe in the death for apostates. So according to the Quran, according to the Prophet Muhammad, according to the Muslim scholars, none of them prescribe death penalty for apostates. So that refutes the idea that Islam allows the death for apostasy. Now, what about the companions of the Prophet Muhammad? Did they allow death for apostates? And the answer is no. Some critics of Islam will cite that Abu Bakr and Ali. Abu Bakr was the first caliph after the Prophet's death, and Ali was the 4th caliph after Uthman's death. So it goes to Prophet Muhammad, then it goes to caliphs. The four caliphs were Abu Bakr, Umar ibn Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, and Ali. So these caliphs were the leaders, or the early leaders of the Muslim community after the Prophet's death and after Islam spread out of Arabia. But anyways, according to critics of Islam, they'll say that Abu Bakr ordered the death for apostasy, or ordered the death for apostates, and he slaughtered people with fire, and he killed anybody who left Islam, whether they're a woman, child, old man, man, whatever. So according, the critics allege that Abu Bakr killed apostates. Now, what is the source for this? What is the reference for the story of Abu Bakr killing apostates? The source is Al-Tabari, volume 10, page 55 to 57. However, Al-Tabari is a weak source. Muslim scholars don't don't hold it as reliable. So al-Tabari, so this source is weak, it's not authentic according to Islamic standards. Al-Tabari also warns people that his books are filled with weak, inauthentic narrations. So this is an unauthentic narration. What about Ali? Did Ali, according to al-Tabari, volume 17, page 191, the critics of Islam allege that an old man named Rahmis bin Mansur, apostated from Islam, or he stopped being a Muslim, and then Ali, who was the fourth caliph of Islam and one of the disciples or one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, killed that man, or he beheaded Rahmis bin Mansur. So he killed him for apostasy. He cut off his head, allegedly cut off his head. Now, what is the source for this? Again, it's al-Tabari, volume 17, page 191. However, the reason why the story is false is because it comes from a weak source. Al-Tabari this story is a weak source. Muslim scholars don't take it seriously, or they don't hold it to be reliable. So this al-Tabari sources, so both these al-Tabari stories of Abu Bakr and Ali killing apostates are false because they come from weak sources. Now, what about the apostasy wars? According to al-Tabari, al-Tabari volume 10, it talks about the apostasy wars. Al-Tabari volume 10 and volume 11 talk about the apostasy wars. Abu Bakr fighting against the apostasy, or fighting against the Arab tribes who left Islam. Well, the reason why they left Islam was not because of religious reasons. The reason why they left Islam is because of because they didn't want to pay charity. They didn't want to pay zakat, or charity. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is charity, giving money to the poor. So when these Arab tribes left Islam, they didn't want to give money to the poor. So that's why they left Islam. They were greedy. They didn't want to spend their money. So that's why they left Islam. So Abu Bakr fought against them for political reasons, or for treason, for political reasons or treason. He didn't fight against them just because they apostated. There's no evidence for that. And again, if you want to read, I don't have time to get into the entire story, but if you have the time, if you want to read the entire story is found in al-Tabari volume 10 and volume 11. Now, there are a lot of weak stories in al-Tabari, so I'm just warning people that not everything in al-Tabari is correct. It's just a general historical account. It's not hadith. They're just stories. So not everything in there is going to be authentic. But this story of the apostates not paying charity and leaving Islam for treason, and Abu Bakr fighting them, that is authentic according to Muslim scholars. So that is a true story. So so what about another thing I forgot to mention is what about the Prophet Muhammad killing 10 people, the Meccan 10, when he came back to Mecca? According to the critics of Islam, according to the Christian critics of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad ordered that 10 people be killed, and these were apostates from Islam, or what they allege. Now, what are the sources for this story? The source is al-Tabari, volume 8, page 179 through page 181. And the second source is Ibn Sa'd, Kitab al-Tabakat al-Kabir, volume 2, page 168. So are these sources reliable? Are these books reliable? No, they're not. These are weak sources. Muslim scholars don't accept them, according to Islamic studies. Al-Tabari, volume 8, page 181, the person who narrated that story of the Prophet Muhammad killing 10 apostates is al-Waqidi. And al-Waqidi has been known to be a liar, so according to hadith scholars and stuff. So al-Waqidi is not he's not an authentic narrator. So that story of the Prophet Muhammad killing 10 apostates from al-Waqidi is false. There's no Muslim scholars don't accept that story. Same thing with Ibn Sa'd. Ibn Sa'd is also a weak source, so Muslim scholars don't accept Ibn Sa'd as reliable. So in conclusion, Islam doesn't allow Muslims to kill apostates. Islam doesn't allow the death penalty for apostates. So no Muslim has any right to go, kill apostates who are living in America or Europe or wherever, because according to Islam doesn't allow death for apostasy. And I've cited several sources for that throughout this video. So no Muslim, so the Farhan Qurayshis, Farhan Qurayshi would be a example of an apostate. Now I don't care about Farhan. I don't know what the hell he follows, or I don't know what the hell he's doing these days. But he would be a good example of an apostate because he left Sunni Islam for whatever the hell he's following now. But no Muslim should go and kill him because there's just Islam doesn't allow that. So but and I've met other so-called Muslim apostates, but they were following Shiism or they were following Ahmadi Islam, so they weren't following the main Orthodox Sunni Islam. So they weren't Muslims to begin with. So but anyways, they weren't Muslim to begin with, and no Muslim should encourage death threats to them or anything like that, according to Islamic sources. So that's my video on why apostates shouldn't be killed, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. Stay tuned. Inshallah, I'll have more videos covering various topics and various things. And another thing I want to say, if anybody wants to donate, I'd really appreciate any kind of donations. And whoever donates, they'll get their name mentioned in my videos. So, if you want to donate. If you don't want to donate, that's fine too. I just want to get the information out there. So thanks for viewing. Assalamu alaikum, and have a good. Hope everybody has a good Ramadan these next few weeks.